And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob. And so, what's going on? What's the narrative? Do you know what today is? Do you know what happened 60 years ago today? Do you? Come on, let's hear some bright folk. And remember, a really brave new world. Did you ever read that book? That's 1984, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This is your reading list today, kids. So here's something. Let's see if you guys can figure out who this is.
That this nation and churches in Birmingham than in any other city in the nation. These are the hard, brutal facts of the case. You may well ask, why direct action? Why sit-ins, marches, and so forth? Isn't negotiation a better path? Fosters such a tension that a community which has constantly refused to negotiate is forced to confront the issue. You speak of our activity as them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you. But we be extremists for the preservation of injustice, or for the extension of justice. I have no despair about the future. I have no fear about the outcome of our struggle in Birmingham, even if our motives are at present misunderstood. We will reach the goal of because the sacred heritage of our nation and the eternal will of the Almighty God are embodied in our echoing demand. From the documentary King, a filmed record, Dr. Martin Luther King reading his letter from a Birmingham jail, which he had written just weeks and double D-Day. The horrific picture that begins your book, this famous image from, it was May 3rd, 1963, of the 14-year-old African-American boy, this German shepherd, biting his stomach, and he has such poise. He doesn't seem to be responding, but with dignity. Talk about D-Day and double D-Day.
It altered everything. Janice was saying just a moment ago about Reverend James Bevel. To go into D-Day, what James Bevel realized. So what the children did, we've seen those images. We've seen people like Janice being attacked. Those fire hoses were mounted on metal tripods that frankly looked like it was meant for artillery. It could knock mortar loose from brick. It could strip bark from a tree at a distance of more than 100 feet. A lot of times kids were hit at less than 50 feet. Some of the raw footage from that day from Double D-Day shows just horrific violence. Kids' clothes just basically disintegrating on them as the water hits them. Kids backflipped in the air as the water hits their face or chest. Kids writhing in pain as the Birmingham Fire Department and Birmingham Police Department keep the water hose right on them at a distance of, again, 15 feet. Sometimes there was a girl, I will never forget this, there was a girl in Birmingham who was slid down the street by the power of the fire hose as she is just writhing in pain and screaming in terror, 50 feet, 60 feet, 70 feet. The camera crews just watched her pass. Then there were the German shepherds, like Walter Gadsden, the boy you referenced a moment ago. The violence, there were literally war photographers who'd been there, who'd seen battle in World War II. And they said this was as bad as anything they'd ever seen. There was a New York Times reporter by the name of R.W. Apple who would later be famed, and he said he had never, across all of his years, in all of numerous war zones, he had never seen anything like the movie All the President's Men.
society is reaping a whirlwind. Even the Greeks knew better than that. Another group that talks about are the Epicureans. They took the name from Epicurus, who taught in Athens. They accepted the Greek gods on Mount Olympus. They considered pleasure rather than truth as the primary pursuit in life.
Well, that was Greece. This is now. What do you think, gang? And it was just a few weeks into this that the schoolhouse was bombed. I mean, the church was bombed and 3 little girls died. Now we have mass shootings. What's the difference? And it's pretty much um, scripted show. Why I do this just off the cuff. People, why don't you pick a subject and talk about it? Why? Because everything else, the war in Ukraine is scripted, right? When this started, many of the people who are smart come. So, what do you think? Russians are going to wipe them out, and it's going to, Dutch are going to be able to get, it's all those stereotypes. It's where NATO is just about pushing it out. It's existential fear. Next book. Okay.
About a moment in the history of his country when the nation came perilously close to dissolving into civil war. It was in 1993 when the white-led government of F.W. de Klerk had freed Nelson Mandela from prison and legalized opposition parties, and delicate negotiations were underway to turn the country from an apartheid state to a multiracial democracy. Malala's book is carefully researched, but it's also informed by his own experience. He was a cub reporter at a South African newspaper, literally his first day on the job, when an act of political violence threatened to scuttle the negotiations toward majority rule and send the country into chaos. His book is a detailed account of the 10 days that followed, which he says offers important lessons about effective leadership in moments of crisis. Justice has been a reporter and political analyst in print and television for decades. His work has appeared in the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, the Guardian, and other publications. He currently writes regularly for the South African Times and Financial Mail, among others, and is the resident political analyst for E! News Channel Africa. He's the author of a previous book, We Have Now Begun Our Descent. His new book is titled The Plot to Save South Africa, The Week Mandela Averted Civil War and Forged a New Nation. Justice Malala, welcome to Fresh Air.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
This story begins in 1993. Just a bit about what's happening in the country. As I mentioned, this
1993.
negotiation.
30 years from 1963.
Rapid exploitation and demeaning of sex in our society is reaping a whirlwind. Even the Greeks knew better.
.org.
This ends with Raven.
So I listen to, I really can only listen to 3 channels. My NPR channel, right? That was Democracy Now! And this church channel. And the church channel, I like reading the Bible. I've been doing it for 60 years. So I went to school to be a Catholic priest, and I went to school to be a Jewish rabbi. And I spent some time with a number of theological universities that were Methodists, right? And a little bit, Jerry Falwell was my buddy. And so was, what's his name in Nashville? Not Billy Preston, not Billy Pilgrim. My boss and Phil Maurice had the same name. Oh, it'll come to me. But anyway, he was the America's preacher. Billy, what's his name? I think that was his name. Billy, what's his name? Anyway, every time, this is when I was in the 90s, and I was living in Ashpit. And other than what I was doing in Ashpit, I would get a itinerant scholar gig and I would fly out of Asheville Airport. And there's never a connected flight anywhere to Asheville at that time. There's actually a connected flight that goes from Paris to Asheville. Let's see. My friend who came in from Chicago, he was on a straight on through. This flights from Florida, New York. Asheville is a hip place. And next time I go there, if my phone works, I'll take some photographs of it and show you the difference. When I was there, let's see. Yep, yep, yep. No. Maybe. What happened to those guys? I had them. What did I do? I don't know what I did. I went someplace. It's really strange. No, they'll pop up someplace. It always does. Never really lose anything. I just misplace it for a matter of time. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Here it is 12 minutes and 13 minutes and 13 seconds. Come on, it's going to be 13 seconds. 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, 10 seconds, 11 seconds, 12, 13. Hey, woo! On for 13. I got one thumbs up. How about some more thumbs up? How about some more of you guys watching this? How about some of you guys making some comments? How about some of you guys leaving some comments? How about somebody putting some on PayPal, dude awake 42 at Gmail, the dude awake 42 at Gmail, dude awake 42 at Gmail. All one thing, all lowercase. Hey, and send me, the only thing I'm getting is this guy. What's his name? Gmail, other than my usual suspects, my newest entity is this character. His name is Gratitude, GERTUDE, comma ME2. And this was my reply. That's really anyway. So it's there is this thing called Freudenscheid. It's a psychological term, coined by Freud, but he got it from the Greeks, so it doesn't count. But his thing was when you get glee from other people's stupidity of their own life, right? When you just kind of look at it, you go, really? Okay. And so what's going on all the way around the world is that, right? And I just look at it, and I don't take any joy out of the suffering of the innocents, right? All the wars that are going on, all the conflict, all the environmental catastrophe. But all of this was, understood, especially environmental catastrophe, alternative three, which was coined back in the Greeks' time. They understood what was going on. Clearly, he kind of twigged on that. There were cycles and long, short, and medium length ones, and if you started looking at what's going on in 3 and how they were interconnected, so this side's not as bad as it was. But I misplaced my groovy frigging sunglasses that I could read with. I'll find them too. But anyway, I'll put these on. So it don't hurt as much. The bright light kind of gets them. But anyway, he saw that there were trends, and they were like these, within the cycles of the horoscope. Cancer, Pisces, Aquarius, Leo, whatever, right? There are eons that go along with them, right? Epochs, right? And they last for about 60,000 years, give or take. So we were in the Piscean age, and now we're going into the Aquarian age. And there was a Venn diagram period between 1940 and the year 2000, actually. And the Venn diagram was really big in 1940, and it got smaller and smaller and smaller. So, like from around 1963, when Jack got whacked, in 2012, it got weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder and weirder. Now we're doing this. Now we're totally in the Aquarian age now, but we still have a lot of inertia from the Piscean age. And so that's why we had the politics we have right now. That's why we have, Carrot Head and Jojo the used car salesman, and they are basically the same character. As was since Jack got whacked, we then had LBJ, biggest scumbag you ever want to see. He murdered people. He physically was, and then he had other people do it for him. And don't take my word for it. This is just comic relief. That was a joke. Did you get it? Did you get the joke? Did you get the joke, son? Well, talking about that, let's go. Let's see if Colonel Beauregard is if we can get a hold of Colonel Beauregard. Do. Even up here, I can't get a phone signal. Please, please, it's not so. No, it looks like I got it. I'll try it again. There we go. It was just a kerfuffle. That's all it was. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. It's not picking up. Okay, who else can we call? Tick tock, 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 tick. That's the time clicking away. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And when it's tick tock, it never changes. We are just right there in that middle. That tick tock right in the middle. Let's see if the rev's around. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Mm-hmm. Give him one more ring. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Whoops. Let's try Let's try somebody else. You know, the amazing girl, I don't know what's happened to her. I haven't heard from her in months. I hope she's well. Let's see. Yes. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Everybody's so busy. Okay, enough of that. Oh, I see what we can get here. I don't know. Okay. Well, that's cute, whatever that is. What is that? Is that an imperative? Yeah, grandfather. Blurry picture. Anyway. I don't know if there's nobody there. Interest. Oh well, enough. Uh, what can I say? Uh, uh, no, no. I mean, I got nothing to say unless you got something to say. Got something to say? I got something to say. What do you got to say? Let's see what I've been watching. We're listening. Let's see. Let me go back to listening. I don't know what happened to my sunglasses. Anyway.
Assyria had enjoyed a brilliant epic of 300 years as a world empire. Nineveh was the capital of the mighty empire of the Assyrians. It was in 721 BC that she destroyed Israel and threatened Judah, but God was going to see that Assyria's doom was final. The message of Nahum shows that God can do with a wicked and rebellious people as he sees fit. In this case, he utterly destroyed them. The doom of the city was delayed 150 years after Jonah preached, but it did come under judgment at last. Nahum's prophecy was not a call to repentance, but a statement of certain and final doom. As we find in Nahum 1:9, what do you imagine against the Lord? He will make another end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. Or in Nahum chapter 3.
I like these guys. That's why I record them. I listen to them, and then I write stuff. Here, let's see if this works. I'm pretty sure this works. I'm pretty sure you still see me while I can see my screen and read you what I write. Oops, come on. Page, let's see. Act 1, Scene 1, we hear. In the early 21st century, just before 9/11, being of the lot when it comes to it is being in a life of all that is incomprehensible. Shows us the only moment we have is now. Scene 1A. What's the they say? Acts 17:28. Pretty much I throw in biblical things you should go puzzle on and say, what was he thinking? So Gertrude Stein, where is Johnny? He said to be on the dot of 9:27 p.m. Let's see, who are we talking here? Right, so we have Gertrude Stein, we have Wallace Stevens, we have John Ashbery, and John Yale, and many others, Johns, right? So that's, so when I say WS, we all know who that is. Johnny said 8:27 a.m. J.A. said, Johnny is not the most comprehensible or timely. Johnny is trademarked as the king of a lot of frackin' morons. Shitholes, asswipes. When it comes to incomprehension, Johnny makes incomprehension exciting. You never know where you stand with Johnny, life or death. And the biblical text, Matthew 28:6. Are we safe with Johnny? Are we safe with Johnny? Usually not. Johnny always leaves us in the medieval of the cliff's lurch, just hanging around. That's exactly where we are now, 5, 7, 15, 11:45 p.m. Get out, you hear Johnny say, suddenly in the cold homeless. Thanks, Johnny. J.A., why is Johnny the druid Marlboro man of Ego's golden rule, who has who has the gold that rules because his mommy and daddy give it to him? Why is Johnny always ready to fornicate under church and king, to kill, lie, steal, love, AOR, all our relations, poetic, one love, of the moment of co creation, work in progress. That's the whip we all are under. Hebrews 10:36. Johnny is covered by a papal bull of, oh, well, go Google that one. Johnny is more than a spiritual golem for the Holy Roman Empire. Johnny, Johnny, the toilet A-lister of Ego's mud puppet cave. You know where that is. Well, here comes the gunship to get me. You mean masturbating shithole Johnny? Yep. Look at that sucker. Yeah, the missiles are hanging out. Right behind is a Chinook. Well, well, didn't have to worry about today unless they swing back around. Johnny is more than a spiritual golem. Johnny Toilet, the A-lister of ego masturbation, the mud puppet. Gertrude Klein says, "You mean Johnny masturbating shithole Johnny?" And then J.A. says, "Yep, that Johnny, the canary in a gold mine of pain." W.S. says, "You mean the contract man, CM, for the hidden hands, UPTNO? You have to guess what that means. You mean the unmentionable one? That's the toilet Johnny, hunting down love's world's word. Hunting down love's word." Let's get rid of that. That's toilet Johnny, hunting down love's word, heard by the artist in the first person. Matthew 5:16. The reader, toilet Johnny. No, see, the reader. Toilet Johnny, a saint of subjective truth, says, "I hate those lucky bastards, those we and me unconditional love's artists in the service to one love's whip, co-creation, always saving the day. They cost me so much money. I do more to look good like an A-lister should. It is me to be famous. I just want to destroy all beauty's poetry's alchemy of love's miraculous, unexpected consequence of the moment of the AOR's we and me unconditional love." So that's kids, that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of where we're at. Let's see. There I am. Did you get any of that? Right. So you want to read my novels? That's just a little tidbit. Actually, I do have storylines in there that have character and plot and all that kind of stuff. But then I kind of go on like that, right? It's called a stream of consciousness. It's to be understood in a deeper sense than just watching Fox News, or MSNBC or whatever, right? And it's going to be interesting. The guys who write your TV that you watch on all your platforms, they are going on strike, right? About 10 years ago, 13 years ago, they went on strike for about, I don't know, 18 weeks or so. And, it hurt. The people who it'll hurt right off the bat is the late night comics, Seth, whatever his name is, Larry, whatever his name is, the late guys, right? And so what's going to be interesting, you will see that immediately they will use AI to write all their political satire. And it is so droll and the same old same that AI will do a better job than whatever munchkins they got to do it before. And then they were gonna, they will roll out whatever, Hulu or Xbox or whatever you've been watching, Amazon Prime, whatever. All of those shows will be written, if not already written, by AI. and say goodbye to the writers. The corporate guys are just going, yeah, I've been waiting for this one. And so you're going to be ushered into a deeper sense of not knowing who the frack you are, or what the frack anyone's saying, or what really is, as Rudy Giuliani said, there is no such room. It's all fake news. There's no truth. Pretty much been going on since these guys.
Verses 18 and 19. Thy shepherds slumber, O king of Assyria. Thy nobles shall dwell in the dust. Thy people is scattered upon the mountains, and no man gathereth them. There is no healing of thy bruit was grievous. All that hear the bruit of thee shall clap the hands over thee, for upon whom hath not thy wickedness passed continually? Her name, utterly cut off, according to verse 14 of chapter 1 of Nahum. And the Lord hath given a commandment concerning thee, that no more of thy name be sown. Out of the house of thy gods will I cut off the graven image and the molten image. I will make thy grave, for thou art vile. God would dig the grave of Nineveh. And so we hear of nations digging their own graves by their actions. In this case, God says there in verse 14, I will make thy grave. For thou art
lazy.
Vile.
Yeah, lazy.
Let's read chapter 1, and then we'll have some commentary up on it.
Sounds good to me.
Beginning in chapter 1, verse 1, the burden of Nineveh, the book of the vision of Nahum the El-Cushite. God is jealous, and the Lord revengeth. The Lord revengeth and is furious. The Lord will take vengeance on his adversaries, and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind, and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. He rebuketh the sea, and maketh it dry, and drieth up all the rivers. Bashan languisheth, and Carmel, and the flower of Lebanon languisheth. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence, yea, the world and all that dwell therein.
Where?
Who can stand before
in
his
the Titan
indignation?
Bus. That's where they're in. They're in the bus.
And
They're in the
who
bus.
can abide in the fierceness of his anger? His fury is poured out like fire, and the rocks are thrown down by him. The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble. And he knoweth them that trust in him. But with an overrunning flood, he will make an utter end of the place thereof, and darkness
a new piece of property, more real estate. Donald Trump is paying off, guys.
What do ye imagine against the Lord? He will make an utter end. Affliction shall not rise up the second time. For while they be folden together as thorns, and while they are drunken as drunkards, they shall be devoured as stubble, fully dry. There is one come out of thee that imagineth evil against the Lord, a wicked counselor. Thus saith the Lord.
Enough.
Yet thus shall they
Enough. So that was written a long time ago, then rewritten by another monkey, then by another monkey, then by another monkey, then by a couple of monkeys named King James, and then a couple more monkeys, Here it is, the Amazon version of spiritual enlightenment. Right? But that's not it, kids. Right? Now, the Bible is a great book to read. That's what it's. And in the beginning, it was the Word. It's supposed to be read, right? And because when you read it, you see the code within it into your cerebral cortex, and you get involvement in that. You get inspiration to do what love's co-creation wants you to do. That's God, right? And Jesus Christ is that spirit, that is in your heart when you forgive someone. That's and that's what Martin Luther King was talking about there. About doing. Should we be on the streets? Doing this. Well, it's the only thing they could do, right? And the guys who were black like me, they kind of, you know, first of all, they don't realize they're being played, right? The organizations that put them together they aren't Martin Luther King. These are corporate entities, right? On every side. We are. These guys are so desperate to hold on to their power that they're ready to, like, basically have nuclear war. I mean, that's what is going on in Ukraine. That's like, if you don't do what we say, this we're gonna push the button. And that's it's the war of the two Vlads. Russian Vlad and the Ukrainian Vlad, and they're both the same Vlad. They're being read. They were given their own script, right? And so, and no one can win that war. That war is a war that no one can win. Just a perfect war. I mean, we had a war in Afghanistan and Iraq for 20 years. Well, that was a long time, but it's not a forever war, right? Go read H.G. Wells' Things to Come, or Things Come Tomorrow, or Tomorrow's something like that. It's one of his latest things, right? And another one. Let's see if our happy-go-lucky Mr. Google will give us any information on this. List H.G. Wells books.
H.G. Wells is the author of more than 60 books. Here are the first three: The War of the Worlds, The Time Machine, and The Invisible Man.
Well, at least I put them up there. Let's see. What we got. That was I've only done 15 so far. Let's see. The War of the Worlds. Shows Time Machine. Come on. View all. Okay. Oh. Let's see. Wells' collection works, right? That's a good one. I would get that. Wells' vinyl bound. Okay. Invisible Government. Island of Dr. Moreau. War of the Worlds. Pondering the Past, a Creation. The War of the Worlds. Complete Guide to Japanese Kanji. Garth Brooks. War of the Worlds. Fast Meatball Diet. I don't think H.G. Wells wrote that. No. Bonds, the Unnamed Path to Security. No, I don't think he wrote that. That Invisible Man. He did, right? War of the Worlds. I mean, he wrote. You keep telling me the same three books. How about the other ones? A Thousand Gifts, classics. Let's see, Tips by Wells, H.G. Let's see, Essentials of Osborne's Brain. No, that wasn't by him. The Island of Dr. Moreau. Yes, come on. Time Machine. Yes, vintage religious books. Pastor's Library. Islands of. These must be other H.G. Wells. Oh, here we go. Outline of History. Yes, that's a very good one. Okay. Over the Rainbow Tells now. Works of H.G. Wells, hardcovered. Dr. Moreau, food. Okay, let's get another one. The last three books that H.G. Wells wrote. Oh, this is a nice one. Yes, the best science fiction stories of H.G. Wells. Now, this is a good one. The anticipation, the open conspiracy, the New World Order. See, as I look at interesting stuff, my phone then sprites up. Oh, you need a new operating system. Please, delete everything you have on your phone. It's fuck you, asshole. So, you know, but H.G. Wells wrote these two interesting books. One is, the history of the world, something like that. It was it was like it took him most of the short story, uh, Time Machine, Dr. Allen Moreau, all those books he wrote in less than 2 weeks each. Right, Time Machine he wrote in a weekend. Right, he needs some money. He wrote it. He took it to a guy down on Glass Street in London, and where they were all the publishers, and he goes, "Yeah, I'll give you £100 for this." And that time, 18, whatever it was, 80, it was like, you know, basically $10,000. So yeah, baby, So he did that, and the guy but he sold it straight out to that guy, meaning he had no rights. It was it. The guy would say, "I'll put your name on it," but other than that, that's it. So we did, and it was very popular. So the guy said, "Got some more," and HG said, "Yeah, yeah, but this time you don't get to own it. We get a contract. I get this much. You give me something up front. I write a book. You give me a little more something, something, and then I get a percentage of whatever comes down. And I own it." The guy said, "Yeah, no problem." So that was how he did it. And he was a college professor at the time. And HG, unlike the guy who wrote Animal Farm, what's his name? HG came from very poor, poor, poor folk. His mother was a downstairs maid, right? Did the washing, and so they had no, daycare. So she brought HG to work, and he just kind of played around on the estate. And he stumbled into the library and he said, "Whoa, this is great!" And so he started reading stuff. And he was there for a good couple of years before the rich guy realized, because the rich guy never went to his library. He just had it there to look good. And he stumbled on H. G. He said, "Well, what are you reading?" He said, "Whoa, you're reading Aristotle and Greek. Who taught you Greek?" He said, "I did." And so then I got enamored with that young HG and kind of supported him. And when it came time to go to school, he, put him in to take the test to go in England. And this is where we get the reverse thing. They called the big fancy prep schools public schools, right? And so he sent them off to a public school, a down, first things, first grade to like eighth grade, and he was top of the class, top of the class, top of the class, top of the class, right? And so I said, "Okay, let's see how you do in high school," right? And that's first form, top of the class, top of the class, and this was like the top of the cream of the private schools for the very rich and very gifted. And he was always top, 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 top. So they gave, the people from that school, they took his up and sent him off to Oxford, right? And paid for it. And he did top of the class, top of the class. And he was studying science. He was a scientist. He wasn't like literary guy, but he read all the he read everything. And so he, in Oxford, he got, he's, top, 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 top. So, they put him as, like an adjunct and for professor, and he was on that, he was heading in that direction. And he did a great job, and but it was still kind of, and he was kind of frisky, so he was like liked the girls, and so he kind of had a bunch of like me, romances to remember. So he kind of had a, and they kept saying, like it should be down low on that one. But it was like the 1890s, and it's like freedom, and the world was heading that direction, right? Things were like Tesla and Eiffel were developing 0 point energy, and the new universe that we were going to inherit, and didn't happen. World War I, and then the Spanish flu, and the Spanish flu actually came from Kansas, so that's a whole nother story. But it's it's up to you to see this out, figure it out. What am I talking about? What is Al Bob? What is Sensei Al Bob always going on about? Why do we watch him? Only the enlightened few do. But I got over 2,000 shows up. I don't know what YouTube says I have, but they're pretty much all there. I kind of flitted through them. I found the first one, and it was the first one. It's like I'm in front of the phone store going, I don't know how this works, but the guy just set me up. I'm going to start doing this thing instead of being on Johnny Toilet's show, Tired of Johnny Toilet. Johnny Toilet, keeps throwing me out. I'm at my 27th time being thrown out, so I'm doing something else, right? So, yeah. I started doing this. Let's see what Johnny Toilet is doing. Oh, see what color hair he dyed his hair. Oh, look, there I am live. Isn't that nice? Let's see. New video. Latest from Johnny Toilet.
That audience. Hi. Hey. How's it going? Oh.
In it.
We're in the guest house.
Huh.
Jiffy's used back door. Oh, check it out.
Look how beautiful that place is.
This is awesome.
So he's had this place since 2016. What's he done with it?
Hi. Hey, I'm in the guest house. Yeah, I'm in the guest house. Oh man, I gotta wipe up this countertop. I gotta wipe up this countertop. Put that there. I gotta wipe this countertop.
It's got enough toilet paper, that's for
So
sure.
tired of doing it. So tired of working.
How many rolls is that? Is that 50 rolls of toilet paper?
But I have to.
I have to. He has to.
Hey,
Hey.
that's kind of cool. Look at this. That's kind of cool.
Kind of cool.
That's interesting.
That's interesting.
Yep.
You.
I used to live in a room full of.
People think learning piano takes a really long time, but that's false. Here's how long it really takes with this new method.
Putin mobilized over 300,000 conscripts and reservists and then put them into existing forces, and they began to conduct several months ago an offensive of some sorts in the Donbass region. And they continue to throw these troops against pretty significant defenses that the Ukrainians had. And in some cases, they were attacking in waves, and people were being slaughtered. So that's why the casualties are so significantly high, because of the way the Russian use these troops, and frankly, their disregard for human life. It's really quite stunning.
And all of this, a great many of those casualties were in this battle that's been going on around Bakhmut, where essentially there seems to be something of a stalemate. We had a little while ago claims and counterclaims of whether the city had fallen or not, but the overall front lines do not seem to have moved particularly over the last few months, let alone recent weeks. We keep hearing about various new offensives or counter offensives, and this huge loss of life going on all the time, while there don't seem to be any particular gains on either side.
Well, the Russians conducted this offensive, and it has culminated and largely has failed. At Bakhmut, they've been trying to take this city for 9 months, and they wanted to take it largely for symbolic reasons. It doesn't have any real military value, and even the United States military leadership was trying to advise the Ukrainians back in January, you probably should pull out of here because it's not military significant. But the Ukrainians had a different thought, and I agree with them. They said, look, the Russians are going to keep attacking us here in waves, and we have an advantageous position here. And as long as we're not going to be encircled, we're going to stay here and fight, and we're going to destroy as many of these Russian forces now, and we won't have to fight them later when we conduct our own offensive in the spring. So we're going to see a change here, Carol, maybe late May, early June, when the Ukrainians take to the offense based on the equipment that they receive, the Europeans and the United States, and the training that has taken place in the UK and in Germany as well by the United States.
Okay.
And they've formed about 12 brigades to do this in addition to what they already have. There's a lot of mud on the ground right now, so I know they're not going to want to do offensive operations right now until that mud solidifies a little bit in a few weeks.
So we'll still wait for that renewed offensive to begin. Clearly,
Give me a break. No one is winning. Everyone is dying. It's just the hidden hand's little plan to destroy whatever people thought was normal, right? And there was nothing really normal. There was no place, before, things have been this way, at least in the United States, since the Revolutionary War. Revolutionary War, we were fighting England, for 3 or 4 years. They had the biggest kick-ass army there was, right? We had the home advantage. They had to come across the Atlantic, but they had the kick-ass army and all the technology. They won every battle. They burnt every city. They killed a lot of Americans, and most of us didn't want. A third of the Americans who were in America thought that they were English citizens. They were not happy with what was going on, and Washington couldn't get a military until he went out there in the hills and promised everyone. So some English guy owns this, and you're working for him. We win this revolution. This farm is yours, right? And we'll give you some money and 40 acres and a mule. And so I keep saying that, right? And people are still waiting for the man from Washington with the 40 acres and a mule. And that's the scam of our, what the Constitution says. All men are equal. Well, not women and not slaves and not this and not that. Only white landed guys are free. Everybody else is still a slave. Sorry, but that's how it is. That's the real world. I live in the real world, and I'm a businessman, and what you got to do is realize our first president, George Washington. Where did he get sworn in? On the steps of the New York City Stock Exchange. Go read Snidely Butler's the most decorated soldier ever. He had like 3 Congressional Medal of Honor. He was he was general, and he watched out for his men. And he wrote, after he retired and stayed out of limelight, and then the fascists, guys like Henry Ford and good old what's his name, Prescott Bush, and the Wahlberg family, and a few other families like that got a hold and said, "Listen, we can't stand. We precipitated this Great Depression, and we just wanted to buy up everything 10 cents on the dollar, and and this guy, this cripple, he's keeps thwarting our ways." And so they went to Butler and said, "We're going to have a pooch, and we're going to stick you in as president because you're very popular, and you're especially popular with all the vets. So we're going." And so he was smart enough to go, "Oh, okay, I'll go along with that." So he got all the dish on them, and then he went to FDR and said, "Hey, these guys are going to kill you and throw over the government," making January 6th look like please, like tourists coming to take a visit. And so FDR got them all in the room. Said, "Okay, I know that jig is up, kids, but I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not going to, arrest you because you guys really have all the power. So what we're gonna do is make a nice little arrangement here. What I'm doing is not, trying to be socialist. Anyway, you guys are already socialists. The rich are the socialists. The government works for them, gives them all the money, and everybody else is the peons, right? You know, Communism is when state controls the power, right? Right? And owns pretty much everything, and then gives the crumbs to the people, right? Fascism is when well, capitalism is when the rich have the money to buy the government, legions, and but fascism is when the rich own it. Period. Own you, and basically that's where we are now. And it's a real kind of run between whether every because I don't know if you notice it, gang, but things are in a different kind of way, and it's all up to you which way this is going to go, right? Whether it's going to be there's three ways we can have the Blade Runner universe, right? Go watch that movie. Which, if you take Blade Runner and take the movie Zardos and kind of put them together, that's the kind of world we're in, kind of now, and heading into the big splat, right? The next one is someone makes a mistake, but not so because it's part of the script, and they take this war in Ukraine and it goes nuclear. Ukrainians, you know, really they can't, um, militarily win, right? But they could easily. I mean, it seems like they've done. I mean, they're doing things in the motherland, right? So if that gets a bit too much, um, and it gets shown that it's being done with NATO hardware and NATO people, we have a lot of people on the ground. NATO has a lot of people on the ground there. So I could see Crimea, which is kind of it's a peninsula out there. It's kind of hanging by itself, and it gets its water from the Ukraine, which they've already turned off. So, oh, at a certain point, they're not going to have anything to drink. So, or grow food. They were relatively productive in producing their own food for 1 million people there. They won't have that. Russia is really not a big producer of food. Big producer of fertilizer, not of food. Ukraine's a big producer of food. So if we give the Ukrainians, which I think we already have, we gave them the HIMARS, right? That's like an artillery shell that you can blow something up the size of a coffee table, meaning you can shoot from 70 miles away and hit something specifically, bango, right in the middle, about the size of a coffee table. Russians can't do that. They have to launch god awful wall of lead to go after one thing, right? They have to like obliterate everything, right? We can bang take it out, right? So That's the HIMARS, but that's 70 miles, give or take, right? Well, there are these other things called the small diameter bomb, but it's really a missile that is fired from one of the 77s or a HIMARS. No, from one of the 77s. The ATOM, which is a longer, more heavy, more precise, further distant. So the HIMARS can only go about 70 miles. The sucker can go 300 miles. So they can actually start hitting airfields, Navy bases, and that bridge going to Crimea. They could take it all out, not just take out a roadway or two. They could take it all out. So if they start doing that, hitting all of the Navy that's in that Black Sea there, right? And just because they don't have all of it, but they got a good chunk there, which would be quite, that would be expensive. They probably have an eighth of their total Navy there. And they have a lot of submarines there. So they could, anything that's tied up there, they could take it out. And in their airfields, they could take all the aircraft and all the airfields, so they can't launch any aircraft, right? So there's a lot of the things that are hitting the cities in Ukraine that are in the West are being launched either from submarines because it's hard to detect them when they're underwater, and they can launch a cruise missile and then scoot, right? And the same thing, they have bombers that can get closer. They don't even go into Ukraine airspace, but they're a lot closer and shoot from there and then hit stuff in the West. So if you take out those airfields, take out those bombers, take out those ships, take out those submarines, that's about maybe a quarter of all of Russia's high tech military hardware and people, right? And so that would be a big oops for the Russian folk, right? And then they start hitting everybody like Russia's been hitting the Ukraine, right? Now that's supposed to be Russia, so that's like, oh, you're attacking Mother Russia. Oh my God, that's really existential, right? And so all of that, those shells that are coming in, they're coming in through Poland. They have three big airfields where U.S. C-17s are coming in and unloading all this stuff, going onto trucks that are just, going a quarter mile over there to bases that the Polish and the Ukrainians are spreading this stuff all over the place, right? And it's like one HIMAR for me, one for you, one for the mob. One HIMAR for me, one for you, one for the mob. I mean, a good portion of that, we probably have given, all NATO and the United States have probably given close to $1 trillion to this, right? And I would say maybe 20 to 30% of that has all gone into somebody else's pocket. When the beginning of this war, so all the fuel was coming from Russia, right? Listen to this one, you'll love this one. Vlad, the Russian Vlad, and the Ukrainian Vlad, a mirrored image of each other. So these guys, well, they're both short, right? This one's a stand-up comedian, not so much for the Russian, not so much for Putin. So they don't call him Vlad; they call him Putin, right? So P and V, let's say that. And the war is like right, and the Ukrainian people didn't meet the Russians with flowers, and they took over in a matter of minutes. And the Americans were saying, "Hey, we got a plane all warmed up for you, Ukrainian Vlad, stand-up comedian. You should get out of town, otherwise they're going to kill you." And he said, "No, I'm staying here." That's someone else's part. See, and that's the other side of the thing. I mean, a lot of the morons who are screaming, I know what's going on. I read a book, so I listened to Jimmy Dore and Scott Ritter and whoever else, um, who say the same thing over and over. At least Jimmy Dore is funny. At least Jimmy Dore talks about a lot of different things, not just what Scott Ritter talks about. And so, um, um, uh, so they all said that Russia was going to win, like within days, right? They're overpowering. They're so brilliant. They had existential threat. They're motivated. So here it is, year year plus, so February, March, April, so year plus 2 months, right? And we're in May, we're going on to year plus 3 months. I said this thing would last 5 years, right? And pretty much Russia will never be the same. You know, who knew that Europe, the EU could live without cheap Russian fuel? And we're doing pretty good. One of the major reasons why this occurred was Russia and Germany were getting a bit too palsy walsy. And the hidden hand guys said, there's a real threat. If German technology and manufacturing hook up with Russia's resources, so this is why this is going on. At least one of the reasons, right? And that's why Russia was so reticent about giving tanks and this and that, right? Because they didn't want to mess up a good thing. Once Nord Stream got blown up, and the hidden hand said to Germans, "Well, buddies, you want to be part of Russia? How did that do when you were split up? How was that? You like that, or you spent all that money, all that time, become unifying, being one great German whoop-de-doo, big boy, big pants, economy? So, and Germany never going to be that again. That's it for them. Right? They are already toast, and they're spending the last. They have enough money to pay off everyone, to keep everything ready to go back to what it was. That's their best dream, that everything could go back to what it was. But if it doesn't, they're fucked. Right? And so here we're giving all this, little by little, giving Ukrainians the weapons that can truly screw Russia, right? And if they do that, and that's their strength thing, where they just hang back, they have a wall of their guys there, right? And they have built, it wasn't Russia the only guys building walls. Ukraine has their own walls that they have built back from Bucha, right? And so if Bucha fell, the Russians cannot just swamp in there. So, and there are many, Russia has a bigger problem because their line, it's like 1,200 miles long, from up there in the north down to the coast in the south, and where Crimea is. So, all the Ukrainians have to do is, they already have these nice little portals where they can put the HIMARS in concrete bunkers and just keep lobbing shit at them, and blow up all their navy, blow up all of their air force, start going after the cities and the infrastructure there, and it starts really costing Russia a lot of money. So what are they going to do? They might just, shoot a nuke at that those bases right on the border of Poland and Ukraine. And oops, and this already happened. They sent not a nuke, but a couple of long range missiles, and instead of hitting those fields, they hit like virtually right on the border of Poland and Ukraine. And now, whether that's incompetence or they were just saying, "See, we can," one or the other. But that's what it was. It pretty much. But everyone seemed to have forgotten that one. So that missile, when they launched it, the guys who were looking at the radar in NATO go, "Wait a minute. That's one of those things they could have a nuclear. Usually they got nuclear. What's boom? Wow, wasn't nuclear, but it almost went into Poland. And if it had, might have been, when one's attacked, we all go at it like a hornet's nest. And they are like getting I mean, Russia didn't realize that NATO, they thought NATO would fall apart. NATO is more sharp, ready to go than they ever, even when, Cuban Missile Crisis, man, the Cold War, during the years of Afghanistan, and these guys are ready. And now Finland's part of NATO, and even though, you know what's his name is stepping on the toes of Sweden, the guy from whatever his name is. That's how important it is. I can't remember his name. Erdogan, right? That guy. And so Turkey. And so, yeah, Sweden will get in. Sweden is a kick-ass, it's like the sixth largest military industrial complex. and they make really good shit. Saab makes this fighter. Saab is always their cars are like fighter planes. I mean, that is Saab. It was like unbelievable. So they have a Saab that they have that is a fifth generation fighter that was built with the ideology of F-16, meaning really good but very cheap, easy to maintain, and very quick and cheap to manufacture. And so they have a bunch of those ready to go. And they have 3 assembly lines ready to go. 2 of them are in bunkers, meaning Russia could hit it with a atomic bomb and they'd still be kicking out these fighter planes. And they are fifth generation. They are like super high tech. They're everything's Wi-Fi. I mean, it's better than our sixth generation fighters. They're not as stealthy, but they're still stealthy. They're small, right? But fast and quick, can stay in there a long time, have a lot of weapons. Everything's on internal storage. So that's the thing that, you got anything sticking on your airplane, that's what bounces radar waves off. But if you have smooth kind of contoured kind of aircraft, and this sucker has fly by wire and nozzles that can point, so it can go, like immediately. And instead of having wings in the back, it has them in the front of the airplane, so it is unbelievably maneuverable. Give Ukraine about 40 of those, because they're not just fighters; they're ground attack, and strategic attack. They could just mess Russia up seriously. So that's what we're looking at this year, right? This spring, From so here it is, May 1st. Hey, well, no, May 2nd. Tomorrow's May 3rd. May 3rd is the 6-year thing of the of that thing I started to show off with. So here we are. What time is it anyway? Oh, it's 5 o'clock. Where's my glasses? How much juice we got left? Oh, yeah, it's 5:05, and we have about 40%. So I got about 20 minutes easy without thinking about it. And no one's saying it. Fish says hi. Hey, Fish. Well, maybe give Fish a call since he said hi. Birmingham.
Cut down, but he shall pass through. Though I have afflicted.
Enough of you. Boo. Oh, Ivo. Let's see, Ivo. She's one of the contract. Ivo is. Sometimes he can be interesting. Sometimes. He's got a good portion of that. Get off my lawn. She's not there. Give her 2 more ringy dingies.
Hey, this is Angie. I can't
Yep, whoops. Yep.
your name and number, and I'll get back. Thanks. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished.
There's Colonel Sanders. Oh no, it's one of his tweakers. He's moving more slaves in. Hey, Angie dear, this is your Al live on the show. You came on and said hi, so I just returned the favor. Love you, baby. Talk to you later. We will see if Colonel Sanders, not Colonel Sanders, Beauregard, Colonel Beauregard. See if he's around. Oh, there he is. This is my new protocol. See if they answer. Hey, Colonel, how you doing? Colonel Beauregard. You're Colonel Beauregard.
He's not a colonel.
Oh, what is he?
He's just a Beauregard.
Well, Beauregard, you're live on the show.
Oh, no.
Oh, no?
No, I don't know about that. I'm in mixed company to be doing that voice.
Okay, so don't do that voice. Do you know what today is?
Not a clue, sir.
60th anniversary to the Birmingham marches.
Oh, I had no idea.
You know, the ones where and they didn't have the grown-ups in the march. They had kids like from 6th grade to 9th grade, because if those kids' parents marched, they would lose their job and then nobody could feed them, right? So that was their decision, to send the kids out. So because they knew the cops were going to have fire hoses and dogs, and so the cops put the fire hoses and dogs on the kids. And it was live on TV. You know, it was like Walter Cronkite was having a hard time with it. I mean, he didn't think it was bad, you know, keep those people in their place, but I don't know about chewing on little children with killer dogs. I don't know. And there was some really bad ones. This little girl, the dog, she was getting hit by the fire hose, right? And she was shot across the floor, smashed into a concrete wall, and water was blowing all her clothes off, so she was naked. And then these two dogs ripped her arms off, and that was like on TV.
Nice.
I bet you could find it on YouTube today.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah,
I'm sure you could even have a VR experience of that if you'd like.
So today is the 60th anniversary of that.
Okay.
Yep. So that's what I've been talking about. So I was looking. So you're at a place where you're in mixed company and you can't be Beauregard.
Right, but I will be walking up the street momentarily. Well, yeah, you know what? I'll do another walk to Grand Central, so
Okay.
so I won't have. So they'll just.
And you can make
I
Beauregard.
don't think Beauregard would have anything. I would not want to use such a backdrop of an event like that to.
Okay, so we'll
for levity, but however,
we'll tack.
I think Beauregard can offer some social commentary
and we can
and some sensitivity
on and reflection of your walk, Beauregard's walk through New York City towards right.
Well, we can do that as well.
Right.
Well, I just want to say hello to everybody. My name is Beauregard Narative. I'm a gentleman of the South. I have a very delicate nature, as some of you may know. That may be a euphemism for homosexuality. Today, I happen to be preferential for female companionship. Well, some days, if I flip a coin, a male anus will do. However, since we're talking in the backdrop of the social consciousness of yesteryear, 60 years ago, and perhaps how it even impacts us today.
Yes,
I will keep my comments a little less on
the down low
side. However, you know what you just shared with me, and perhaps your audience, certainly quite deplorable, and in certain aspects of our life in 2023. Still very much exists, if not here, but abroad or globally. The example you used of the little girl being torn to pieces and her humanity stripped from her. Don't know if the child actually survived. I would imagine she would have died in that event.
No, she actually survived, and I think she was on Democracy Now.
Oh, my goodness. All right, well.
And they also had one of the little girls who got blown up in the church like 2 weeks before then.
Yes, I remember that event as well from history. I'm not that old.
Right, and her.
I sound like someone from back then, but no.
And her sister died, but she didn't. She got a full plate glass into her face and stomach. So.
Now, I like that you mentioned that the children were sent forth to protest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is a tactical move. Now, this may sound very cynical and maybe even a bit callous. Now, I certainly don't wish death or destruction on anyone, but from a tactical maneuver on the part of the protesters or the movement, if you want to call it
Right,
that.
and that's what it was. It was
That
all those churches.
So certainly it was. I mean, these were not stupid people organizing. They knew that there was a possibility of that happening, and also from the perspective of, well, if some people are familiar with the book Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky, who is a staunch communist, I might add, or was. So I don't have a lot of love for him, as I'm probably one of the only homosexual members or outward homosexual members of the John Birch Society. but I will say this: I hate Tommy Bass, but the book had a lot of points. It basically talks about how people don't understand power. Now, it goes on to kind of use Mahatma Gandhi as an example of this. Now, as we know that
Beauregard, can I just make one comment in the midst of this?
Certainly.
You know whose idea that was to use children? The children themselves.
Very good.
And
that's a very good piece to the puzzle.
And because this all came out of churches, and that town was the worst of the worst, and and so
they knew that they may be sacrificing their very lives.
Right. Well, and this is what they said. They said we are children and we don't want to grow up in this world, and we'd rather use ourselves right here when it's really important, and it'll make a big thing, and our parents won't lose their jobs, and it was their idea.
Well, that is wonderful and frightening at the same time. Well, again, let me make my point. I'm glad you put that in there, because that's widening my understanding.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as wide as my waistband, because I am a fat fuck, but that's beside the case. That's why I do all these long walks, take a lot of dumps. I don't think it's mostly fat, but it's most people in the John Birch Society will tell you I am full of shit. But anyway, with that said, that book refers to most people don't understand power. And since Martin Luther King was a student of Mahatma Gandhi, many people do not really look at or understand some of the techniques of nonviolence protests that Mahatma Gandhi used. Now, he did not necessarily advocate violence or armed struggle, as other groups later would. But the impending violence that may occur,
right,
as a result,
right,
of someone being bludgeoned by fascist pig, if you will,
right, mm-hmm.
And the city possibly going on fire. You get what I'm saying? The implied threat that the society will erupt into a revolution spiked by or inspired by the nonviolence. So a lot of people don't recognize that it is a tactic used by so-called nonviolent protests.
And may I make one?
Be of a sacrifice, whether voluntary or not.
Can I jump in one more time here? Here it is. So it's 60 years from that day, right? It is also 30 years to the day when in South Africa, the black leader was let out of the prison, and the white guy realized that if they didn't stop doing the apartheid thing, they were gone, they were toast. And so he tried to say, okay, I'm going to let this guy out of jail, and we're going to try to figure out how to get to a place where we can all live here. And that didn't stop the racist, people who didn't want apartheid to land. What, give black people something that's mine? very akin to what we're
Well,
hearing.
it'd be kind of foolish to think that the racism would just automatically disappear.
But the thing
Or
is,
it wouldn't be without a conflict.
well, but see, but the conflict had already been going, for like 30 years. The guy in jail and the ANC and apartheid. There was not kumbaya for, So and
That's what
also
I'm
that
saying.
wasn't there for real long. It was 30 years or so, and they didn't want. There was a crew, the most right wing fascists of that wanted to kill all the black people. It's kind of hard to do when they are 3/4 of the population or 80%. So anyway,
actually serve as the backbone workforce.
right, exactly,
Labor,
right,
so
right.
you can't exactly exterminate your workforce.
Right.
You
So
might want to work them to death, but you have to have another generation to replace them.
right. So it's
So no, this is about power.
right.
I'm not be funny and say John Birch Society, I'm a fat ass homosexual, things like that to make the audience laugh. But the point I'm trying to make is to just observe. I'm not putting even a context of good versus evil or anything.
Right.
Just power and control and how it works.
Right.
And again, since you cut me off, but
I just interjected.
I interjected. Well, I interject a lot, but not the way you want to like. But anyway, that requires a lot of lubricant and perhaps a dinner or a meal.
But
anyway,
let me just say what I interjected. You cut me off, so I didn't even make sense. So it's 30 years now. In '93, the same thing happened in South Africa.
Yeah, I got more facts and trivial pursuits.
That's right, I do. So it's a very interesting day because
Double doctor, double interruption.
what do you think? That's double doctor. So today is the most amazing day because 6 years ago, Birmingham, 30 years ago, South Africa, same thing, and we're about to do it again.
My goodness.
Take it away.
Nothing of value to say.
Take it away. Take it away.
Tell me about a hamburger or something. I don't need to hear about all this political shit. But anyway, since I feel the need to complete my statement, actually I don't even give a fuck. But I will say this: power is power. It can be used any way you wish to choose. That's basically all I'm saying.
That's good. I like that. It rhymes.
And there can be means to an end.
Mm-hmm.
Just because someone says flowery language and peace and love and all this,
yep.
does not mean that the objectives do not imply or utilize violence or the threat of violence.
Right.
That is my point, sir.
Yep. Or the outcome of violence.
They had their intention of doing that. Certainly. They wish to give up their lives. That is their purview. That is their choice. But in the machinations of things, it was to the ends to hopefully spark a revolt. Right. People would be so outraged that they might do some shit.
Yep, exactly.
To put it plainly.
Yep,
so don't there's a certain whitewash, I should say. That's quite ironical, I would imagine, for some listeners. It ain't all roses.
No, it ain't all roses.
And never has been. BO and potpourri and patchouli hippie stick.
Yep.
There's some real power going
on. Yep.
So that's all I got to say.
Yep.
So let's continue and move off that subject.
So where are you now? What street are you on?
Well, I'm on Park Avenue South on East 17th Street, and I certainly do not look like the voice. So if anybody's trying to find me, I'm well disguised.
So I have a question. Madison Avenue starts...
Yeah, named after the comedian, Oscar Madison.
It starts kind of near where you are, right?
A little bit ways.
There's that park right there in the hotel. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't quite recall.
Well, Madison Avenue starts, Lexington.
Are you there right now? Can I visit with you? Thank you. No, I'm on the phone with my mom. She's sick. Thank you. From one grip to another. God bless.
Yeah.
I don't know if the viewers heard his retort. He said, "Tell her I hope she's feeling better." That's great because he knew I was full of shit.
Audience, are you feeling better? I hope so. Let's see.
Yeah. So I broke character too bad.
Yeah. So so Madison starts right about where you are. If you go a little west from where you are, there's a park there, and there's a Park Madison Hotel, really old, really great restaurant. I used to go there and hang out in that park, and Madison starts right there and goes way uptown. So it's all the way uptown.
Okay.
Yep. And right where you are is where the new New York started. I mean, pretty much where you are. Up
And
until
how many years ago was somebody beaten to death on this block? Since you have all this wonderful news stories, you want to upset me with.
Oh, let's see. Well, all I can say is back in 1740, where you're standing was a farm.
All right. Well, I have been on many farms.
And then 1760, these guys sliced it up, and they made the avenues, and they made blocks, and they sold everything. And that's why everything below Houston is squirrely. There are no, everything goes every which way. Really, everything.
You mean like the streets.
Right. From 14th Street down, everything is kind of squirrely.
Like to make sense.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the old New York.
More like my commentary about homosexuality in the John Birch Society.
No, that made perfect sense. Oh, come on.
Yeah, it does, but not to the.
That made perfect sense. Except Beauregard. There are more guys in the John Birch Society like you.
Republican butthole.
Right. Well, there are more buttholes. There are more buttholes in the neocon crew.
You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Well, Birch Society been a long time before the neocon. Neocon is just an updated version.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all right. None of them make sense. Democrat, Republican.
Right. So you're walking up Madison. So what did you say? You're going up Lexington?
I'm walking after midnight. Recline.
I know.
And I punched her right in the fallopian tube. I'm on Park Avenue South, sir.
Park Avenue South. Okay. So who owns the Pan?
Who for my liking, sir.
Who owns the Pan Am building now?
I don't know, Mr. Pan Am.
No. That thing has been bought and sold so many times.
You're asking the wrong man. I barely want to be in this godforsaken city.
Oh, okay. Where would you, Beauregard?
I want to go home.
Beauregard, where would you rather be?
Charlotte, North Carolina, of course. Where else would I want to be? The most irrelevant place on the planet. Is that right, Mrs. Tamika? I believe so. But anyway.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Charlotte, that's my home. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I hate it well. More than here. But I want to go back.
I want to go back. I want to go home.
Home on the range.
Yeah, home on the range.
Well, in New York City, if you're in Chelsea, it's where the bears, ain't no buffaloes, but there are a lot of bears in Chelsea.
Yep.
And they still like to play. Well, anyway. They tried to initiate. Then when they found out I was in the John Birch Society, they got very upset.
They got upset.
I said, listen, I do all kinds of things that make no sense. Don't take anything I say as truth.
Don't believe a word we say. This is all for entertainment's sake. Nothing is real.
Well, that's the truth about it all.
Yeah.
See, people don't even want to get to that place. The place where they can let go of love and let go of hate and fill the void with freedom.
Yeah, baby.
That's too deep.
It's too deep. And, that's too responsible, meaning if you were going to go there, you'd have to be responsible.
Well, then it would be about choice.
Yeah, then it'd be about
You
choice.
choose to love or you choose to hate.
Right.
You have a
And
choice.
then you'd have
But
no
if you think that these ideas are like innate within you,
right.
you're mistakenly
Yes.
brainwashed.
Yeah, you got it, baby.
But that's a higher plane
Yeah.
of thinking. That for me personally came from a lot of suffering.
Satan.
Beating my
Satan.
beating my head into the wall. But
Where did you meet the prince?
the prince?
Yeah, the prince, Satan.
Prince spaghetti sauce?
No, Satan.
This is within myself, just like everyone else.
Oh, okay. Well, because one of my characters,
Bible?
Characters
behind me, Satan. He was in the desert all by himself.
Yeah, that was Peter.
You
Yeah,
think a guy in a suit with the little horns on.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Fuck that. You need to wake up. Come on.
Did you remember the Twilight Zone, where this guy who's a two-penny thug gets killed, and then he wakes up in a beautiful apartment with girls around, and he thinks he's in heaven, and there's this guy who kind of roly-poly white guy with a beard, kind of looks like between me and Santa, and so the guy constantly thinks he is in heaven. He goes and gambles. He always wins. He always gets laid. He always everything that he ever thought he wanted, he has. But he's starting to get bored. And so the guy goes, "Oh, you can lose, or you can win, or you can this, but it's always going to be this." And the guy goes, "Why would I want that? I'd rather go to the other place." And the guy goes, "You're in the other place. You're not in heaven. I'm Satan." And that's the little thing to show you that Satan never is the guy with the horns or the hooves. He's somebody you don't really realize is Satan.
It's you.
It's you. That's right. Exactly. I try to keep telling the churchy people that, we are heaven and hell right here. It's not like end of times. It's coming anytime soon.
Armageddon can happen every week if you want.
Yeah, it's going on right now, baby.
And hopefully the Armageddon within yourself will facilitate a change or an expansion.
Exactement.
For me, it's just an expansion of my waistline.
Right, exactly.
I eat more chicken.
More dumplings.
More dumplings, yes. That's what I used to call my handmaidens, my little dumplings.
Yeah.
I want to Tammy to join.
Yeah.
The little dumpling crew, but they barred me from that institution. I can't talk. I wrote my poem about her hindquarters.
Yeah.
Started reciting it in front of that building, and I was harshly handled by security.
Yeah, see, they grabbed you and
kind of appreciated the rough trade, so I did get off on that. So, I get my thrill wherever I can.
Wherever.
Absolutely, with whomever.
Mm-hmm. So, my buddy came and looked at the joint here from Chicago, and I took him all around, and that was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. And I think it was John, but somebody else. I haven't really been bothered by trolls, but somebody trolled on about, let's see if I can.
Might have been me.
No. I'll read you what he said. Let's see if I can get this stupid thing to work.
Do we have anyone in the chat room?
One person. I think it might be Fish.
Dish, what's up, son?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, Whaley, most people watch this later on, Very few. Every once in a while.
They get them from work,
Oh, it's like their entertainment. It's like instead of watching the nightly news with dinner, they watch this.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Make us popular.
Exactly.
I could use some TV dinners.
Roughly about 40 people.
Mail to my house.
Every show gets, within the 3-day scenario when I go back and look at it.
Tell your friends so you get more people. Come on.
Yeah,
help the double doctor out.
Right. You're here, boy, God.
Things are so tight he might be a single doctor after a while. You need to, you don't have to say that twice.
You don't have to say that twice.
Yeah.
Yep. So today's show is called What's the Narative?
What's the narrative?
What's the narrative?
I hope what I said, including my comments about John Birch Society, inappropriate behavior was a contribution to that theme.
That's the narrative. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I guess the goal is, kids, is you make your own narrative.
So the trolley guy who's put in a few responses here is his name is GERTRUDE.
And what was his comment?
Let's see. I knew you could not wait to show him your old asshole. There is no way a new pair of pants had a hole in a pocket, and even it did, you would have totally noticed it. Not really. The keys in the leg right away. So what happened was, I put on these pants that I got on sale at Walmart a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, they're brand new. And so I was, the Colonel Sanders can, when he does stuff with his, car. I was asleep and I woke up and I said, "Oh, he got." So I was gonna run out there and like scream at him, "Get off my lawn!" And it was like about 7 in the morning. I went out there and I had to get the keys to my car. So I got them and I put them in my pocket and I ran out there and he was already up the hill. Right. So I couldn't do it. So I went to get the keys in my pocket to get the stuff I bought at the store. And my frigging went in my pocket and there's a hole there. So there are no keys in my pocket. And then I go, "Oh, motherfucker," because I had walked across my whole property. I said, "Does that mean I have to crawl around and look for those?" I said, "Okay, God, I know you," because I heard God saying, "No, stay in bed. Just forget about that guy. Don't go do something like you're gonna do." So I did, and so ergo, my keys were gone, and I can hear God kind of tee-hee-hing in the back, and I'm going, okay. So if that he's laughing, so I don't have to crawl around. It's somewhere close. So I'm looking around, and I'm feeling my legs. And there it is. It's down at the bottom of the pants because it has a little thing to keep the air from going up the pants so the keys didn't fall out the pants, right? Well, I'm trying to get at it, trying to get at it, and I couldn't get at it. The only way I was going to get at it was to take the pants off.
Right.
And so there I
now,
was.
were you on the air when this was going on?
No. It was too early in the morning, and I don't have the internet down there.
So how does this troll know over this, or you mentioned it in a broadcast?
I probably mentioned it in a broadcast.
Right, so then
I was talking about letting things go, and I'm a great, I'm a good example of how stupid a person can be. So
right, certainly, I agree. They have your poster up at the post office. It's unwanted.
Right, unwanted, most stupid person, good enough.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I might be vice president of stupid as well.
So anyway,
president of moron.
Right, president of the moron society. Right.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
But I at least kind of notice it relatively quickly. I don't have to spend 35 years. I can.
Now, took me a little longer, but I'm less dopey than I was yesterday.
So anyway. I thought that was an amusing story because my friend who visited me, he's up on the patio and I'm like naked, trying to find my keys in my pants, and he's like laughing, and so I told that story. So that guy.
So there's a guy that likes to respond that way.
Right.
So listen, people are entitled to say things. It's the internet; they're gonna type dumb stuff.
So I thought it had that flavor of Johnny Boy, but there's so many Johnny Boys out there,
Right, certainly. Now, listen, they took the time to
Johnny Boy
be thoughtful.
Is more sweet. He has a sweet side to him.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
I know. Nobody uses that much toilet paper on themselves. He's a rather sweet individual. That's all I'm gonna say.
He hasn't shown the house off at all, right? But he's still cleaning it up.
He likes to show his pectorals off a lot on the internet.
Oh, yes.
That's a rather sweet move, too.
Right.
I might add.
He's always showing those.
Though he doesn't look like Johnny Weissmuller.
Right. No, he doesn't look
like more like Sheeta, but anyway.
Not even Sheeta. No.
Catch my meaning.
Maybe a little more like Jane. a kind of chunky chain.
I don't know about that piece. Kind of making me sick now. I think I might even vomit in my own mouth.
Oh, don't do
Well,
that.
that's where I would. I'd
I
wind
never
up
like
swallowing
that.
it.
It's never a good thing.
Taste your own vomit.
Yeah,
You know, you get those belches and there's a little puke in there, and you happen to taste it.
Yeah.
That's what Charlotte reminds me of. I can't wait.
Yep.
Yes,
I
Mrs.
picked my
Stanley.
friend up
I
at
can't wait.
Asheville, right? And
Well,
I used to be the dude of Asheville when nobody was
the other
there.
thing I like about Asheville is it sounds like ash, so because it should be burned to ash. But
Right,
then,
it is. It's Ash Pit. It's Ash Pit.
I know, but
And I-40 and
still
I-26
city
go through the
grass.
downtown there. 1,000,000 cars drive through their downtown.
I got no beef with Asheville. I've never been there, so I can't
Yeah,
say.
you can't say it. Yeah, well, it used to be one of my towns, and when I was driving out heading north on 26, and they're making it a 16-lane highway. It used to be 2 lanes. It used to be 17. It
Right.
used to be a county road. Now they're making it
Mhm.
16 lanes. Ay.
Now I'm looking out the bus window, yeah,
Oh, you're on the bus.
and I see, oh yeah, and I see. I'm not sure what this being is wearing the skirt and adjusting it in a rather provocative way. An older, middle-aged gal.
Right.
And what I find most kind of fascinating, well, she might just be trying to adjust a wedgie. She did like some kind of bow-legged shit going on. It was pretty good. I liked it though. And she tried to play it off, looking, you know how people like you do dumb shit.
Yep.
You look left, you look like that's gonna throw everybody off, and it never does, but it makes you feel better.
Yep.
Yeah, she did one of those, but she got a little puffy, like ear thing. Oh, she's a much older lady too. Oh, that's good. Limber for her age. So, as I said, I'm an equal opportunity exploiter, ne'er-do-well, and basically a member of the Lech Patrol. So, yes, but I enjoy my life, and some people enjoy my life with me, and some enjoy it against me.
Yep.
That's fine.
You're just spreading the joy.
I just spread several things.
Yeah, you're just spreading the joy.
Yeah, well, I took care of those crabs a long time ago. But anyway, they don't appreciate this kind of talk at the dinner, the fundraiser dinners.
Well, you know,
No,
this show is
society.
watched by people all over the world, so
They
I'm
sure
sure
like my money.
someone who's going to watch this, they're going to be eating their TV dinner when you're talking about this.
I hope they mail me TV dinner. Please, I need all the help I can get.
Yes.
I'll take anything. Loose change, bad checks, whatever you got. Lint in the pocket, I don't care.
Yep.
So I'm sorry
we
you're
should
being
make
trolled, but just let go of love, let go of hate, fill the void with freedom.
Yep.
That's what I get. That's my message.
That's your message.
That's Beauregard Lord asks his message to the public.
Yeah. Well, Beauregard,
if you know what it means, you might.
We're about to run out of juice
don't.
here. So I'm going to say I'll talk to you later, buddy.
All right. I will say Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen. And say hello to the Führer for us.
Und.
Yep.
Auf Wiedersehen. You will own nothing. You will like it.
You like it. Later, baby. That was Beauregard. That was fun. So we got a few minutes left. Let's Fish called in. Let's see if we can get that girl.
Hello.
Oh, there she is.
How are you?
Oh, pretty good. We're here on the last few minutes of the show. I thought I'd end it with you and see how you're doing.
Oh, I'm pretty good. Pretty good.
Atta girl. That sounds good.
I was listening to you in the car, and I got home and I didn't even hear my phone ring. I sat down. I was like, oh. I was going to turn your show back on, and I seen you call.
Yeah.
So, did you have a good weekend?
Yeah. My Chicago friend who might buy the joint, he showed up, and he was interesting, and it was a good time. I mean, he is kind of, I don't know if you've ever heard him talk to me on the phone on the show.
Yeah.
So he's I mean, he could be if you were really a tight ass person, you could see him as a whatever negative thing you wanted.
Uh,
But he's just like Beauregard, who was on, right? He's another
yeah,
one.
yeah.
He could be,
I call him Red, but yeah,
Red Butler. Yes.
yeah. I couldn't think of the name Beauregard,
Yeah, right.
but every time I just think of Rhett Butler.
Yeah. Beauregard.
He lives in New York, yeah.
Yeah,
That magic.
Yeah. He's a New Yorker.
Yeah.
So, but Beauregard comes from that cartoon of the little chicken and the big chicken. And,
Oh, on the Looney Tunes.
Yeah, on the Looney Tunes. Yep. So that big chicken was Beauregard, and the little chicken wasn't a chicken. The little chicken was a chicken hawk. That goes after
yeah,
chickens.
it's been a long time since I've seen that.
Right. And Tweety Bird was part of that too. And Tweety would go, "He don't know me too well, Tweety."
Wasn't he the one that said, we're gonna love you and squeeze you? Maybe. Something like that.
Well, it was one of the Looney Tune characters. I don't know if it was Tweety.
Yeah. I think it was the chicken or the rooster.
Oh, that's the one. Yes.
Yeah, and we're gonna name you George or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't the chicken hawk or Tweety Bird. It was the big guy.
Yeah. Yeah, the big rooster guy.
Yeah, the big rooster guy. And he just thought everything was funny when he would see this little chicken hawk trying to go, go chew up a big thing, or he kept trying to chew on the big chicken rooster's leg. Hey, Paul, what are you doing down there? Anyways, so that's where our friend Beauregard came from that character.
Yeah.
He's also a gangster, not Muslim, Indian guy. Like he's Gandhi's cousin.
Oh yeah.
But he's a gangster.
The one that came over the weekend.
Yeah. No. That guy. He's straight up from the Balkan states. But he's been in the United States for almost 40 years.
But he lives in Chicago.
He lives in Chicago.
Yeah.
He came. Okay. I love it when people complain about how hard their life is. I mean, he lived through the Yugoslavian war.
Yeah.
He watched half his family shot in front of him. So I give him a lot of square for. I mean, how he gets through or whatever he gets through is he just kids about everything, right? He just loves seeing people kind of like can't understand it because they get through the others. Like I took him to the Ku Klux Klan Baptist church. They were having a chili cook-off. They loved his ass. They just thought he was the best thing since, so they would start telling stories about me. And then you want to hear a story about Al because he and I traveled with each other. He is cheaper than cheap, I mean, because he came here, got a job, was in the union. He's got a big pension and he's got, Social Security. And his wife is a CFO of like a large transnational corporation. Like these guys aren't hurting. And whenever I'm with him, he's always trying to get me to buy dinner. Right? I mean, he says it's just in him to be cheap, But on the other side of the coin, we'll be walking around and he'll find somebody who's like on his down and out, and he'll say, "Turn around, let's go back," and he'll give him a $10. So
his heart's in the right place.
Oh, way in the right place. He's definitely, and he knows me. He knows that I live like a millionaire on $400, so it doesn't matter. It's like, okay. But we were in this restaurant, this really nice restaurant. I'm trying to help the lady. She's really great. She's really amazing. Her restaurant, she has 3 of them. Really great, really amazing.
Oh, you did the show Sunday.
Yeah. And he was wearing the gold chain. I was wearing the gold chain around my neck.
Yeah, I saw the gold chain. Yeah. That is a very nice restaurant. Where is that? Is that in Tennessee or North Carolina?
Tennessee.
Yeah, that's a real nice space, and
yeah.
you're right. It would make a good bar.
Oh yeah, yeah. And she makes. I mean, this lady. So I don't know if heard Mr. Chicago go on about her pizza. Her pizza. She makes her own olive oil.
Oh no, I
So
didn't hear that.
and if you're gonna cook anything, and that's some of the like we were. He was really hungry, and so we went into this really terrible, terrible Mexican restaurant. And what was really, and because we stopped halfway in, and he was tired. He said, "Oh, well, if we can get a room for under $60, we'll go there." So we stopped this one place, and I thought that it would be under $60. We went in there, and it was totally full of tweakers, right?
Yeah.
And so we go there, and she goes, "It's $160." I said, "What are you talking about? We are 50 miles from Asheville, and in Asheville, it's $160." And what it was everyone in that hotel was being paid for by the federal government.
Oh.
Section 8 housing, right? And not
Yeah.
housing in a crappy hotel, right? And so the guy who owns it, if you come in off the road, if you're going to want to stay here, you're going to have to pay at least what he's getting from the federal government, right?
Right.
And so he also owns the gas station that has a crappy Mexican restaurant in it. And all the tweakers are there, like eating their Mexican food in the lobby in the styrofoam cup. And my friend goes, "Oh, let's go get something to eat over there," because all the tweakers were going, "Oh yeah, it's really good. It's really good." And I was like, "No." So we go in there, we sit down, and they bring us, a ketchup as salsa, and really, it's bad when the chips bend.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
And I said, "Let's go." I said, "No, we can't go. They just brought us chips and salsa." I said, "No, no, no, no." Anyway, so we had a shitty ass dinner, and I said, "You got to pay. I'm not paying for this crap." And so he did, and the service, it was like he took 20 minutes to get a glass of water.
I'd have been scared to drink it if the chips were bendy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So anyway, that was our first, there. But I had a great time because I went to Asheville Airport, and Asheville is like, when I was there was maybe 30,000 people living in the whole 3 counties. Now it's 250,000 people, right? It's like, anyway. So and the road out to the airport used to be 25, which is a 2-lane road. Now it's 26, and it's 18 lanes wide. It's like Charlotte. It's like, oh my god. And
Oh, I
and
hate
it's
Charlotte.
and it's on total. It's one of those places where they're always widening it. I mean, they never finish the job. It's just the construction shit is always there, and it's traffic is always there. Anyway, so
Yeah.
I'm like zipping around trying to get to the place, and I want to get there an hour earlier so I can just get the lay of the land. So I drive through the airport, and is screaming ATF, or TSA. You cannot stop. You cannot drop. And the people, if you, they have to like open the door and they roll out while really. So I go
Yeah,
over to
the airports are really bad about that
right,
now.
and so I go to where it says parking, and it's totally confusing. Week long, month long, year long, all these kind of parkings, and all the costs are like changing as I am watching it, right? So to be there for an hour was $14.
Oh, you should have. Well, I wish you would have called. They have these things now called cell phone waiting lots, and you wouldn't have had to pay.
Right, right. So right, but I didn't. So anyway, I didn't pull in there, right? I just kept zipping around, and I kind of knew when his airplane was going to land. I tried to call him, couldn't get him, and I was going to say, "Listen, I'm just going to drive by, and you come out, and I'll just pick you up instead of me parking." And like, so anyway, I was driving by. So I still had an hour to kill. I then said, "Oh, look at this place, Dunkin' Donuts," and it's only maybe a quarter of a mile to the airport. So maybe I'll buy a donut and put the box on my windshield so they can see I bought a donut there, and then I'll walk to the airport and then walk them back. some airports you'd have to walk that if you were parked. Anyway, so I'm doing that, and I had some coffee, and I'm eating this donut, and a Dunkin' Donuts cost $3.18.
Yeah, they are high.
All right, and it wasn't even that. It wasn't like the good old Dunkins I can remember. Anyway, so it's cost so much, and they put it in a box, not a bag, so it's like jewelry. I'm like looking at it, going, "Oh, yeah." And it was one of those Boston cream ones, right? And so
Oh, yeah, yeah.
so I'm about to take it out, and this knock, a very insistent knock on the window comes, and I look at it. I lower the window about a quarter inch, and I say, "Yeah, what do you want?" It's this woman asked me if I've been saved yet, and I kind of look at her, and she's got a little black kid who doesn't look like wants to be with her, and a little Spanish kid and then she goes, "Do you have some money for the children?" And I said, "Can I buy them?"
Lord.
And then she had this look on her face like she was thinking about, how much could I get for this? And then she goes, "Oh, no, no, we're selling magazines." And I said, "Really? What?" So this little girl kind of handed me a magazine. I put the window down a little bit. And the woman said, "No, no, no." And I took it. And it was like Better Homes and Gardens or something, not even Christiany, right? Like she
Yeah.
got it out of the garbage, right? So I had it in my lap, and I rolled the window, had to hit the button. The window went up a crack, and she, "Give me that back! Give me that back!" And I took my donut out of my thing and ate it, and cream fell on her magazine, and then I closed it and slid it through the hole. She said, "That's $24." And I said, "Really? You're a hypocrite." And I started screaming at her, "Hypocrite, hypocrite." And everyone in the gas station was looking at, "Uh-oh, what's going to happen? Is this going to be a shootout? Should we drive away? Is this another, you know?" And the little kids are looking up at this and like shaking their heads like, what they little kids reminded me of the Oompa Loomps in the
Willy Wonka.
in Willy Wonka. You know how they had an attitude
Yeah.
and they were really little? That's what they look like. They don't look like the same, like all the umbalumps look the same, but they had that attitude, that look, right? Anyway, I just said, "Okay, I gotta go." I backed up and pulled out and said, "Well, I guess I can't park here." So I went around the parking lot 3 or 4 times, and then it was getting close. I said, $14. Well, I'm gonna make sure I'm not gonna be here for more than a frigging hour, and he'll have to pay. I don't care what he says. He's got because he has a credit card, right? So anyway, I go there and I push the little button and it sticks out that ticket and like almost microscopic lettering, it says you need to pay by credit card only, not debit card or cash.
Mm.
And I'm going, I don't have a credit card. I have a debit card. I have a cash, but I don't know what to, I couldn't make sense. And then all these horns were honking, and I was just going to back up and leave, but there were 10 cars behind me, and they had metal posts on either side. There was no way I could get out of this. So I took the little thing, the gate went up, I drove in, and I'm driving around, and there is no place to frigging park.
Yeah.
I mean, it was no place, not even like in the North 40, right? So I kind of park under a tree because it's like a microwave oven, and I open, let the windows down, let some breeze come through, and I'm trying to think about it. So where am I supposed to park? And I'm looking at the handicap parking, which is right there. I mean, if I could park there, it'd be 6 steps to the front door of the airport, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm looking at this. I'm looking, and there's 3 cars: a Mercedes, a Lexus, and something else with no handicap sticker. They're just rich and right. Anyway, so I'm looking at this thing, and this guy kind of says, "Sir, can I help you?" And I look at him, and I'm like going, yeah, I've been saved, and I don't want a magazine." He goes, "Huh?" He goes, "Do you have a problem?" I said, "Well, I have a couple problems. A, there is no parking spot here. B, I'm kind of a cripple guy. See this little tag on my car? And see, these morons, just because they're rich, he goes, I'm taking care of that right now. You can have a parking spot just in a moment. And I said, what? He goes, yes, my name is Dougie. I said, no, that's very nice. I run the airport. I said, wait. You run the airport, not just the parking space, the airport. Yes, I am ATF colonel, or whatever, Homeland Security or whatever he is. He is that, and he's in a nice suit, and he wants to help me, and he's the top frigging dog, right?
Uh-huh.
And he doesn't have a walkie-talkie. He has this little earbud. They're talking to him in the earbud, right? And he has this little tablet, right? So I go, fine. He goes, well, just pull just a little over here. Fine. Okay, stay right there. And he goes, now you're perfect. Once they come to take these cars, you'll just be able to back up and be right in. I said, geez, thanks, Dougie. So I said, Dougie, oh, look, there's a nice little bench. Let's sit on the bench while we wait. And so, because I had an hour to kill, so I sit over there with Dougie. I read his palms, and he frigging blows his frigging mind. Right? That I just read him like a book. And he goes, I can do that with anybody. And he goes, we should get guys like you to work at airports. I said, yeah, I tried to get them to do that back around, 2001. And they wanted to hire, fat people and put them in blue shirts and pay them 6 times more than the rent-a-cop. And he was like, yeah. And so we have this great conversation. And then the SWAT team shows up to move the cars, right? And Dougie goes, boys, come over here. I want him to read your palms. And a couple of them, whoa, that's kind of cool. I read their palm. And the other 3 guys refused to do it.
Well, some people don't believe, or
No. It was weirder than that. They had something inside them that they didn't want this guy to know about. I mean, that was what it was. It was nothing religious or anything like that. No. Because one of those guys was like a born again Christian guy. He was, oh yeah, read my palm. No, it was more that that's what my sense was, and that's all. And Dougie doesn't get that job being a dummy. I mean, he did that on purpose. He wanted me to run. Anyway, they took the cars away. I parked my car there. We sat, and so he said, "What'd you think of those 3 guys?" He didn't want. I said, "Well, they got something to hide." He said, yep, I'll have to look into that. So anyway, we had the nicest of times. It was getting tight. He had the little seats. Oh, your friend's plane just landed. He'll be coming in any soon. So he goes, and I said, what about this? You won't take cash or debit card? I said, yeah, I know. It's kind of strange, isn't it? I said, yeah. He goes, not a problem. He takes my little ticket, right? He puts it on his little tablet, hits a button. He goes, you're paid for now. He says,
that's good.
Yes, and he said, you could stay here now for 3 days. You could live in that car now for the next 3 days if you wanted to, but you're all good for 3 days. And I said, really? He says, yes, but the one thing you have to do, I'm going to take this, give this back to you because you have to give it to Janet. She's at the desks, at the turnstile, and you have to give it to her. I said, you're the boss? No, that's your protocol. You got to. I said, okay. Thank you, Dougie. So I get my friend, get him in the car. He's like going on and on and on. And so, and I have to go through like 3 gates to get to the turnstile that's why he gave me the little stub, because I had to put it up against the thing so it could read the thingamajig, right? And so I finally get to Janet, and my friend starts being, hey, baby, do you like dildos? I said, shut up. and she just said, so he's interesting. I said, yes. And she said, Dougie said I should read your palm. So I read her palm, and there were people honking their horns back there. And Dougie came out and just kind of looked at him like, you want to go to jail? And so we had a very nice time, about 3 or 4 minutes. And Dougie's, I gave him my card. He said, for sure, look at your YouTubes. And anytime you're here, come and visit me. And he gave me his card. And so right off the bat, the beginning of my escapade with my Chicago OG was, so it was great. Every place I took him to, like, he did that, and people loved him. because they love me, and so they say, "Well, this guy's with Al, he's got to be okay." But we went to this one place where the river has a big beach, right?
Mhm.
And there were these people, and all the kids from upstate were there. And there were these kids who were like, mommy and daddy are really rich, so they got a big fancy car, like a groovy car, and they have these, like $5,000 canoes on top of it. And I know they don't know what they're doing because the sales tag is still on their canoe. They really haven't been using this. They just drive around with it and make it look cool, right? It's like a piece of jewelry. And
Oh yeah, the kayaks. They're
yes,
so popular
yeah,
now.
yes, on the car. It's like causing it to drive, 3 gallons more gas, a tank full, just to have the kayak on the side of you. Anyway, so I'm looking at these guys, and my friend is out on the beach, like haranguing girls. I mean, he's not, pedophile. He's not a sex thing. He just says stupid things to get people, get their attention or see who they. He kind of does things that I do. I just do it in a more diplomatic, you know.
Subtle.
Yeah, subtle. Well, I wouldn't quite call myself subtle, but yes.
No, but compared to him,
Yes, subtle.
subtle.
Subtle, yes. Anyway, I'm looking at those guys. They're looking at him. I'm getting, those are these morons, and they all have frigging guns. Right? They got their 9 millimeters on their hips, and they're wearing like $1,000, those suits you wear when you kayak, that you're all like, and I'm
Wetsuits.
and I'm looking at these guys. So I go, okay, I have to intercede here before they shoot my friend. And I kind of, use my outside loud voice to my friend, right? And get his attention. And he's semi annoyed that I am interrupting his thing. And then I turned over to the guys and said, "Oh, you got 9 millimeters. Isn't that kind of cute?" So I said, "You really need that on your hip in when you're gonna squeeze yourself into that kayak? I mean, all you're gonna do is blow your nuts off through the side of your kayak."
Huh.
And the other two guys who really had nothing to do with them, I think they hired to be their guide. And they're just like, they are kayakers. They have, their kayaks got scratches and bumps, and they have a nice little helmet, but not a really expensive one. They have a nice little, life jacket, pair of, baggy shorts, and rubber kind of swimmy shoes. Right? You can tell these guys are real kayakers, and they're trying to just like rolling their eyes. And my friend is coming screaming at, "What are you talking about? Blah blah blah!" And I just kind of grab him, throw him in the car, and we're going. And I said, "Remember, don't blow your nuts out." And he looks down, he sees these guys, and they got guns, and we drive away. And I said, "Buddy, you got to cool it a little bit. This is the mountains. If I could have, and you probably would have. I was in the car. I could have easily just driven away and left you there to be murdered, but I interceded. So he did knock it down a few notches, and so everybody else we met loved him. So we had a really nice weekend. And if you watch the show at the restaurant, that's hers, right? So
Yeah. I didn't watch the whole thing. I skipped around and
right.
through it. I listened and I got up and done. I was still playing, but
Right.
I was doing some stuff, and
Right.
then I'd sit down and listen for a while.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the whole thing,
Did
but
you hear
I
her?
did see with the big necklace.
Did you hear her voice?
Yeah.
So she's really sharp. She's really nice. She's really kind.
So she marries a Muslim.
Right. And he's like, been there forever. Now he is the real deal on the restaurant touring, right? And he's an amazing chef. So that's why the food is. So he's not the chef. He got himself a chef, but he got that guy. The chef he got was good, but was good enough to follow exactly what he wanted him to do. You know what I mean? Right. So that's why the food's so good, right?
Yeah.
So they have a really beautiful patio, and they got a kid who really does he DJs for the school there. So I want
Uh-huh.
him to DJ there, right? And there's 3 pubs up the road that, and they're all about, craft beer. They're like making beer. They don't know how to run a restaurant or a bar, but they do know how to make beer. And so I said, this is what you need to do. Get your boy here to be Mr. DJ, right? He's got all the stuff. He's got the lights, he's got the speakers, he's got everything, right? You don't have to do anything. You get those guys to bring the beer in and set up a bar, right? And they run security. So if anyone drives off someplace, they do the IDs, they do all of that, because you got 2 separate places. You got these doors. This is the restaurant. That's you. This is they're doing this. You get the door. You give half of that to Mr. DJ. Then you get a quarter of their beer. That way you don't do anything, and you'll make somewhere between $1,000 and $3,000 every time you do this. Husband
Yeah.
goes, "Yeah, that's a good idea." And the wife goes, "Yes, yes, but maybe next year." I said, "No, no, no, no. What you do this summer, you do it 5 times, no more, 5 times. That way you test it out, see how it works. If it works good, you know, keep doing it all the way through till Christmas time, and then when it's that 5 weeks where it's too cold, too rainy, too this, too that, don't do it then." And then they have this beautiful dining room that's not the big dining room. And I said, "What you really," because they make their own, you know, what do you call those? Those drinks, aperitifs. You know, things like what do they make? Everything that you'd put in a cocktail. Do you
Some
ever
fancy shit. I don't know.
do you know what? Do you ever have lemon jello? Or something like got another thing that's commercial is Bailey's Irish Cream, whatever you would call that. It's not really whiskey or vodka or this. It's that kind of specialized, alcoholic
Oh,
drink.
like
A cocktail.
a cocktail,
Right.
like a better
Yes.
like I like a drink called Redheaded Slut,
Right.
which is peach schnapps
Yeah.
and
All
yogurt
right. Exactly.
and cranberry
Right.
juice.
Right.
So
Exactly.
a mixed drink.
Right. But more the peach schnapps, the alcoholic thing itself, and then you make something with it, right?
Right,
And
right.
that's what a cocktail is. It's something like that, and then you make something like what you like, right? So they have
Yeah.
this really nice room that's right off the main drag, and it has a door right in there that they don't really use. As you get a big neon sign that says cocktails, and having a martini glass, and just make this little room a cocktail room.
Yeah.
And then what you do is they come in the door and you're IDing them, and everyone gets a little slip. And you come in the room and you get, for like $20, you get one of their pizzas and you get 3 cocktails. And they make their. I said, "What's it cost to make a pizza?" He goes, 85 cents, and it's the best pizza I've ever had. A lot of pizza, right?
Mhm.
And so, so you're not a big pizza, a little one, right? A little pizza, and you don't put anything on it except the pizza. And all the other stuff you make, olives or this, you give them like a little cup with that stuff that they can sprinkle on at their desire, right? And
Mhm.
that's their pizza. And they get 3 cocktails, and the first one will knock their shorts off. Next 2, you basically have the flavor with water.
Yeah.
And they won't know the other 2 aren't. The first one, they'll drink and wow, and they'll get a little buzz, and then they'll eat their pizza, and then they'll get another one and another one, and that's $20. And if they want another
Well,
one, it's $11.
well, I don't know. You might have to make that second drink a little
No,
stronger.
the $11 one you make stronger. You don't give that one water, so that gives them that little bounce up. But you don't want to get them sloppy drunk.
No, I know, but if you eat the pizza, the bread's gonna soak up a lot of the
Right.
alcohol.
So the one that they pay after the $20, that one after that, and they only get two more, like for $11. But those are you can be real whoop-de-doo drinks, right?
Yeah,
So they don't go, over the limit, and they can feel wow, and it'll be like that Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin kind of cocktail kind of thing, right? So
yeah.
so I'm getting them to do those two things.
And if they could find some local
Oh,
bands.
and that's a college town. I already checked that out. And they already kind of done it already. They already do a little bit, but not a lot, just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And also they have a great staff. But do you ever work in a restaurant?
Yep.
So did you ever work in a pretty good restaurant, more than a,
No.
McDonald's?
No, I worked 8 years for Captain D's, which
Okay.
was a subsidiary of Shoney's.
Yep.
I they don't have them in Virginia. I don't
I've
think they
been
have
there.
a lot of them.
I know exactly what they are. So,
But yeah.
um, did you? So maybe in that, if you've been there that long, there's a thing that goes on in restaurants. You have the boss, you have the management, and then you have the serving class, right? And the
Uh-huh.
serving class has castes, and there's like, you know, oh, cults or little groups. This one group who are just there to do their best, make some money, and go home, right? And then there's
Right.
other ones who talk smack about everybody,
Yep.
right? So that's pretty much every restaurant. So
Yep.
they have a few of those, and so I said, guys, once we really start me doing stuff for you, hey, you're gonna have to pay me money. I mean, what they do, which is very nice, they always pick up my tab, and when I come in with ideas for them, they'll give me $100, like for my gas, which is, that's nice. But if I'm
Yeah.
really gonna get into management, we have to talk. But anyway, um, so there's 4 different restaurants kinda near them, and I'm gonna try and have them, like, work together so they can maximize so they don't copy stuff, so they don't really compete. They just, make that part of the town the place where everyone wants to hang out,
Yeah.
right? So and I already talked to the beer guys. I said, "Guys, you make great beer, but everything about your restaurant, you're gonna I can see it already. You all your passion is making the beer. You really don't care about running a place, but that's supposed to be where you're making your money, and you're not doing too good a job about it." So
Well, yeah, they need to make like beer fries and beer cheese
right,
and
all of that stuff, yes, and so yes, so anyway, that's my little summer project is because I need to figure out to do something that's just not sitting here watching the grass grow.
yeah, I'm watching mine grow. I'm refusing to mow.
Well, the secret to a really good lawn is, let's say most people mow their lawn 20 times a summer, right?
Mhm.
Okay, hold on a second. I have to back out of the show here so my uh, little guy doesn't crash. It doesn't like it when it crashes.